Fam, good morning. What is going on? It is Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. Can I get a roll tide inside the comment box? I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you very much for joining my Monday show. Today is October 21st. Here's what's on the show today. We're going to close out this loss against Tennessee. We're going to go over some final stats, hit on some high points of that game, maybe some low points if you want to look at it that way. We're going to go over the AP College Football Top 25. I'm going to give you my top 10. We're going to look at the SEC outlook and actually throw in a playoff watch. I was playing with some scenarios here, so just bear with me. There's a lot of football left. I get it. Sometimes we get in that doom and gloom. It hurts to lose, but we have to turn the page. We have to step forward in life, and that's what we're going to do today on Bama Football on YouTube. We're going to look at some of the season stats, at least on the offensive side through the first 7 games. I think we'll look at the defensive stats tomorrow, and I know that I want to take your guys' calls and kind of talk about when we call in. So let me kind of get through this. I probably get – and today's my long show, so I go all the way through Coach Kalen DeBoer's press conference, which will start at 11:30 with the offensive and defensive coordinators. So get comfy, hang out. If you got to go warm up the coffee, I'm cool. I'm here. But what I want to do maybe like around 11, kind of depends on where I go, how fast I can move through this. I'll try to get it done so we can call in and get some Monday morning quarterback in. All right. So if you still want to vent, if you have some ideas, if you slept on it, come with it. And I appreciate you guys being here. And remember, when you call in, it's okay to vent, and it's okay to state what is on your mind, right? If you want to be critical about the team, that is fine. If you want to, talk about different ideas, it's fine. So don't hold back. Come with it, and we continue to move forward right here on Bama Football on YouTube. All right, so let's start at the top, and let's kind of go over some closing items, in case you missed some of my post shows following the game. So real quick, Bama Rocky topped up in Tennessee. Alabama loses to the Volunteers 24-17. Jaylen Miller 25 of 45, 239 yards with 1 touchdown. Jaylen Miller 12 for 42. Ryan Williams 8 for 73. Bama had 15 penalties for 115 yards. You also have for Tennessee, Nico was 14 of 27 for 194 yards with a touchdown. Dylan Samson doing a lot of work in that second half. 26 carries for 139 yards in total and 2 touchdowns, and then the Vols outscored Alabama 24-10 in that second half. You look at some particular stats that we circled, that we pointed out after the game. Jaylen Miller threw the football 45 times, which was, I think, a career high for him. Jaylen Miller only with 12 carries for 42 yards, and you kind of wonder, does Alabama have an issue running the football, or is it more of a schematics deal with you want to throw the football instead of run the football? And look, I'm going to say something too. As much heat as we've been giving Jaylen Miller, and rightfully so because of the inaccuracy in the play the past 2 games, you also have to point out the offensive line. I mean, what is happening on the right side of the offensive line, and I've brought this up a bunch of different times, the right side is super vulnerable, and it is not Alabama's strong suit. Elijah Pritchett had a grade of 34 or something like that, and Jaden Roberts, he's clearly injured. They've been rotating him, so I don't know what is happening on Alabama's offensive line, but it is not good, specifically on the right side. Ryan Williams targeted 18 times. I think that number is actually 20 on the official book, but this is what we have on this one. 20 or 18, it is still remarkable to see that. Dylan Samson, 26 for 139. That was a season high for him. We knew that he was going to run the ball. He did run the ball. He was effective. Talked to somebody close to Alabama's program, said that they actually wanted Dylan Samson to come to Alabama. Remember, he's out of Louisiana. It's kind of uncharacteristic for the Vols to go into the Bayou State and get prospects from time to time, but Dylan Samson certainly having a really good season. Here are some key points in this game. You had total yards for Tennessee. They had 408 total yards. And what's interesting about that number, and when we talk kind of on the post-game show, and you see that you felt that Alabama's defense did play better. Well, they did play better in the first half of that game, but I think where we continue to see, the team as a whole struggle is in the second half, specifically in SEC play, right? 408 yards, it still isn't it. Allowing 212 yards on the ground isn't it. And the penalties. Let me tell you something right now. We're going to talk about penalties, and this is why I want all these guys are great guys, but they have to be held accountable for what is happening. And when you think about penalties, right, you think about the lack of discipline and what's happening. Alabama right now is ranked 129th right now in penalties. That is like absolutely mind-blowing. That's probably one of the biggest stats that's happening right now. And that leads to the head coach, because the coach is responsible to the assistant, offensive and defensive coordinator. Like, something is not going on correctly. And Coach Jaylen Miller's teams have been heavily penalized, but 129th is not going to fly, okay? Third down conversions, or lack thereof, 3 of 14 for Alabama in this particular game. All right, hit on a couple high points right here. You might have seen this if you checked in a couple days ago following the game. I've been running a couple shows, and let me get through this real quick. Alabama outscored 24-10. We touched on that against Tennessee. Alabama had 15 penalties. Alabama was 3 of 14. Milroe 45 attempts. Williams 20 targets. Bama last 4 drives. This is Josh Pate brought this up. We talked about this last night on our late show. Their last 4 drives had 3 yards, which is just like mind-boggling with the amount of talent that they have. And then, of course, Dylan Samson hit on 139 yards. Let's talk about the AP Top 25. And I talked about this last night, and I appreciate you guys checking in. Thank you very much for being a fan funder. If you've super chatted, in the show, I appreciate you guys. Any type of support is dope. And, thumbs up on the video. I'll take you guys all the way to 12:30 about Coach Jaylen Miller will hit the podium at 12. Nick Sheridan and Kane Womack will be in at 11. I appreciate you guys being here right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Also available on podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and then we got a really big Facebook channel, Alabama Crimson Tide on YouTube. So hope to see you there. All right. Up at the top, Oregon. All right. I don't know. I wouldn't put Oregon as number 1. They did beat Ohio State. I watched that game. Dylan Gabriel did a good job. And we talk about this all the time. It's kind of like the passion. What do you see between Dan Lanning and Kirby Smart? What similarities do they have? They have like that fiery, competitive spirit. You have Georgia at number 2 after beating Texas, and really they controlled that game. And I love what Kirby Smart said after the game and kind of that mentality, and I get it. We're used to it. I saw that Matt Zenitz just tweeted out, since 2020, Georgia hasn't lost to any other teams other than Alabama, right? So Crimson Tide's sitting up in his head. But other than that, I mean, this guy has a competitive spirit, and he does a really good job getting his team to feel like the underdogs, even when they have the target on its back, right? So 6-1 after a really big win. They're number 2 in the AP, and we're going to talk about kind of some playoff scenarios. You're probably like, playoffs? But there's still a glimmer of hope when you look to the bigger picture. All right. Penn State, not really buying Penn State. I don't feel like this is a team that is a top 5 type team, but they are undefeated. Ohio State, I would imagine Ohio State beats Penn State if the two teams were. I think they do play here in a couple weeks. Texas is at 5, and then Miami. What's your take on Miami? I know sometimes we have a Bama hater who's in here who's a Miami fan. They keep finding a way to win. Now, the quarterback is absolutely, I like that guy. I mean, I've watched him probably 3 times, just the way that the TV broadcasts have worked out, and he's found fourth quarter heroics to lead the Hurricanes to a 7-0 record. I still don't think that they win the ACC. I think that actually Clemson, they play Syracuse too on the back end. I think Clemson might win the ACC. Tennessee now up to 7. LSU in a really good position in SEC play because they're undefeated, taking on Texas A&M this weekend in a marquee game. That should be really exciting. Tennessee, the thing about Tennessee, their defense that's the other thing that we don't really talk about. Their defense is good, right? They're like really good. But their offense, besides Dylan Samson, man, the quarterback just can't throw. If he could, man, they would have beat the socks off of Alabama. Yikes. You got LSU. I like their quarterback. He's playing really well. Clemson playing with a high competitive spirit. Iowa State, they're undefeated. BYU's undefeated. I don't know. One of those will win the Big 12. You have Notre Dame right here. You know what? Notre Dame, on the back end of Notre Dame's schedule, I was looking at it. They have they play Navy and Army, right? Maybe one of the teams or both of them will beat Notre Dame. I would like to see that. Okay, Indiana, they're a team that people are starting to talk about. They're undefeated as well. Texas A&M, and then all the way down at 15, Alabama. Isn't this the first time that Alabama's been like at 15 since like 2007 or something crazy like that? I think that was the stat. Sorry, this coffee's super hot. Kansas State, Boise, you can read the rest. Ole Miss is kind of floated away. But they play Georgia here in a little bit. So I don't know. It's good. It's cool to see Army and Navy up on, up within the top 25. 2010, Max, is that when it was? Man, that's a long time. 2010, where was I? I wasn't here yet. So that's your top 25. Here's my top 10. I put together a top 10 every Monday. This doesn't go out to anybody else. This is just like, it goes out to you guys. All right, so I have Georgia at number 1. That win over Texas was enough for me to put them at the number 1 spot. I feel that this team, they got punched in the mouth, and what they did, Kirby Smart was able to get them to respond. And Kalen DeBoer will have that same opportunity starting today, right, after that 24-hour rule. Like, can you get your players to respond? How do you get these guys ready for the remainder of the season? Look, there's still a lot to play for, and we're going to talk about different scenarios now. I know you don't really control your own destiny, but you talk like Jaylen Miller talks about controlling the controllables. Well, you get back to work today and you focus on Missouri, and that's it, right? No more big picture stuff, like just Missouri, and that's it. So I have Georgia at the number 1 spot. Kirby has these guys playing fantastic. He said, we're not going to sign pictures. We're not going to, sign auto. Like, we're just going to focus and we're going to eat. That's what he said. I love hearing him. Like, honestly, I'm not the biggest Kirby Smart guy, to be honest. I've always had respect because I think his teams, they clearly win. They don't beat Alabama. But when the two teams play, I always pick Alabama, right? But I do like his mentality. Like, the guy is certainly, he certainly has that fiery competitive spirit that I liked about Coach Saban. He has it. I have Ohio State at 3 and Oregon at 2, just because Oregon beat Ohio State head-to-head. You look at the remainders. Let's start up top real quick. So you got UGA, and then they play at Ole Miss, Tennessee, UMass, and Georgia Tech. I would imagine they win out. Surprisingly, ESPN, that little predictor, has Ole Miss as the favorite in that game. So, it's Lane Kiffin. Who knows? That would be interesting if they did slip up there. Kirby Smart, Lane Kiffin, that's going to be great TV either way. You have Oregon. I have them at number 2. Remainder, they have Illinois. Then they have at Michigan, Maryland, Wisconsin, and Washington. So still a lot of conference games to play. I wouldn't imagine that they slip up anywhere. I think Illinois might be ranked going to the Big House. I don't know. So it might be, worth watching them in a couple of these back-end games. Ohio State, Nebraska, Penn State, Purdue, Northwestern, Indiana, Michigan. I don't know if they'll slip up either. But taking on Penn State, Happy Valley, that could be interesting. Texas, they got Vandy this weekend in Nash Vegas. Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, A&M. There was a good amount of people that felt that Georgia would beat Texas. Is there anyone else out there that feels that either they could see Georgia or Texas lose another game within their schedule? I don't know. Could Texas lose to Vandy? That would be crazy. Could they lose to Florida? No. Arkansas, Sam Pittman pulls an upset at A&M. I don't know, right? Angels saying Texas going to lose to Vandy. Who knows? Then I have Penn State. Then I have LSU. LSU's been able to string together a pretty good season following its first loss in the first game of the season, right? Tennessee, Clemson. I didn't know who to put. Clemson. I would love to see Tennessee and Clemson play. I think that'd be a great game. Or like Tennessee and Miami. Any of these back-end games. And then I put Notre Dame. I don't know. The reason I put Notre Dame in here is because they did beat Texas A&M. And right now, Texas A&M is winning or is leading the SEC. So I don't know. I don't have Alabama in clearly. But this is my top 10. Here's a look at the SEC standings. And remember, it's just 1 versus 2. And I'm going to kind of list out some scenarios in the next slide over here. So Texas A&M at the top, 4-0. LSU, 3-0. Georgia, Tennessee, Missouri, Texas, Vanderbilt, Alabama there on the bottom left, right? I appreciate it, Surfboy 3000, man. I like that username too. That's what's up. Then you have Arkansas, Florida. I mean, top to bottom, you know, I always joke about this on Monday, but Auburn and Mississippi State will be relegated to the Big 12. And the team that's in last will be relegated to the Pac-12 with the two other teams. Well, it's like the Pac-2, right? The 2-pack. It would be the 3-pack. I wish there was relegation. I really do. It would be cool to see that. And then like the champ from the ACC would join. I'm going to keep talking about that. All right, so you're like, okay, here's what it looks like, but let's look at like some scenarios. All right, so I put this together this morning. And the percentages, how I have it based on the percentages, if you go to, like, you could type in Georgia football ESPN, and then you can click their future opponents, and it shows you the percentage that they're expected to win that game. It's not necessarily like the point spread. It's just like it's like the analytics that ESPN has, okay? Alabama was like a 90% favorite to beat Vanderbilt, a 90% favorite to beat South Carolina. Clearly, you know, I mean, they're just numbers. But that's what I'm going off here. Those are where the percentages are from. So let's start at the top. And what I did was I put their projected final conference record at the end. So let's start up top. Georgia 4-1. They have a 79% chance to beat Florida. Surprisingly, the Ole Miss is favored by ESPN on that game. I would imagine that they win that game, though they have a lot of momentum. Tennessee, they're a 61% favorite. That game is in Athens. So they should finish out 7-1 in SEC play. Texas right now 2-1. They got a lot of conference games left. Vandy, they have a 90% chance. So did Alabama. We saw what happened there. Florida, 91%. That game's in Austin. At Arkansas, that one could be tricky. That would be like one of those rat poison games. Kentucky, I don't know. They should have beat Georgia, so who knows? And then Texas A&M. Let's just say they finish out, they'd be 7-1. And then you have A&M right now who's undefeated. That game this weekend between A&M and LSU, that's going to be a really good game. Right now, LSU is favored by 2.5. Then you have South Carolina. They're tough. They're only these are going to be tight games for Texas A&M. Then they play Auburn and then Texas. So in the best situation for them, they finish out 7-1, losing to Texas. But I think they might drop a couple games, to be honest. LSU, let's say they beat A&M or lose to A&M. No, let's say they win. They beat A&M, lose to Bama. Florida, then they're at 6-2, right? And then Tennessee, they could finish out 6-2. So Bama 6-2. So there's a lot of football left, as you can see it. But it looks to me like it's going to be Texas. Like if I had to pick absolutely right now, it would be Texas and Georgia in the SEC title game. So you want to talk playoffs, right? Jim Mora. Before we do that, let me see where I want to start. Here's a look at the SEC schedule. So you have Oklahoma taking on Ole Miss. Take Ole Miss there, clearly. Oklahoma just fired their offensive coordinator. Arkansas taking on Mississippi State. Clearly take Arkansas. Missouri at Bama. Bama's favored by 14. Texas taking on Vanderbilt, who's now number 25. Texas is an 18-point favorite. LSU taking on Texas A&M at Kyle Field, 2.5 favorite. Oh, it's Texas A&M who's a favorite. Obviously, home field. And then Auburn and Kentucky. So I put together the playoffs. I don't even feel comfortable with this, but like people are talking playoffs, so I wanted to put together a bracket. I went to ESPN. I looked at all the particulars. This is what I came up with at this point in time. I think it's trash, to be honest, but here's what it is. All right, so I got Georgia, number 1 in the SEC. Number 2, I have Oregon winning the Big Ten. I have Clemson winning the ACC at 3. And then I guess BYU or Iowa State winning the Big 12. So those are your teams that would get a bye. And then the top matchup, I had Ohio State taking on Notre Dame. I have Penn State taking on Miami. I put Indiana there. I saw a lot of people put Alabama at this spot when I was reading through ESPN. So if Alabama was to take care of business the rest of the way, that would be amazing, getting a shot at Texas. But I don't know. You don't want to go to Austin. But whatever. I mean, you got to go through anybody anyways. And then LSU and Tennessee in a SEC game. The playoffs are going to be amazing. I can't wait for all of this. Oh, we're going to talk quarterback here in a second. But yeah, that's my playoff bracket. I don't know. I mean, it feels the one that throws me off is like the Big 12 getting a bye. Because I think a lot of these other teams are better than them. But I put Indiana at 11. They're undefeated. Alabama's lost 2. PK saying Clemson isn't beating Miami. And that may very well be the case. I mean, Clemson's only lost 1 game. That was to Georgia. And Miami keeps finding a way to win. And that quarterback is absolutely the truth. Okay, so if you go to the ESPN playoff predictor, and anybody in the world can do this, you can go in there, just type in ESPN playoff predictor, and you can do this yourself. You can do this with all the teams. Currently, Alabama has a 44% chance to make the field of 12. All right, they're favored against Missouri, against LSU, against Oklahoma, right? It doesn't even have the Auburn game on it. But you pick those games. Those are their next 3 hardest. That's what it's saying. And if they win out those games, along with beating Auburn and Mercer, they would have a 98% chance to make the playoffs. They'd be a 2-loss team. They would have a 67% chance to actually host a first-round game. And when I was playing with this model, it had Alabama as a 7 hosting Tennessee, actually, here in Tuscaloosa. So maybe it's flawed, but that's kind of what it came up with. And again, you can go to just type in ESPN playoff predictor. All right. Here you go. Playoffs. That was one of the best things to ever happen in football, right? Jim Mora talking about playoffs. So the win over Georgia for Alabama was, I mean, after you basically have to root for Georgia to run the table, right? That win over Georgia is going to come in super handy. The problem is, and I know it seems like that Heather Dinich doesn't like Alabama at all, right? And I was reading some of the material this morning on ESPN. Chris Lowe put some stuff out. And she said that Alabama will be judged how they lost to Vanderbilt and how they beat Georgia. So, basically saying, the 2 games that they lost, they're going to be criticized because of the way that they played. Well, obviously, when you don't win games, you play poorly. But, the 15 penalties, going on the road when you're number 1, right? Those sort of things are going to come into play. But the fact of the matter is they beat Georgia head-to-head. So, I don't know. They take care of business the rest of the way, let the chips fall where they may. I don't necessarily think that they're going to make the SEC championship game, but I still do think that they have a shot to make the playoffs. Maybe as a 10 to 12 seed. I don't know. ESPN has them higher, but it's not over. If you're out there and you're oh, they're not going to make the playoffs, that's not necessarily true. You can still make the playoffs, but you got to play some much better football, right? Much better football. Because I think if you just kind of slide through, that's not going to cut it. I think you got to really take care of business. And it's going to be challenging. I mean, look, Missouri, they're in the top 25. And I'm going to show you some stats about Missouri that'll open your eyes a little bit. You got a trip to LSU, which we all know will be challenging. Auburn, the Iron Bowl, who knows what that game will have in store. All right, so now we get kind of to a couple of the particulars, and I'll take your guys' calls maybe in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, okay? So right now, this is a stat that is this is really freaking me out. Out of all the things that are going on, we're going to talk about Milroe. We're going to talk about the offensive line. We're going to talk about the fact that they don't use their running backs. But this stat right here, I think tells the larger picture of what is happening. I have never seen Alabama be this undisciplined in terms of racking up these penalties. And a lot of these penalties aren't even debatable. They're straight up penalties. But to be ranked 129th going into the second half of the season is unacceptable. Unacceptable. I get it. We can all be critical of the play calling on each side of the ball, the adjustments. But, like, this is, like, statistical information that is just not it. And if you look to the past under Coach Jaylen Miller, he's always had teams that they've won football games, but they have been highly penalized. Against Georgia, 10 for 90. Against Vandy, 6 for 57. Not a lot, but the penalties that came, extended drives that led to scores. Against South Carolina, same thing, 7 for 67. And then against Tennessee, 15 for 115 yards. Okay? Now, that's on the coaches. That's on the players, but it starts up top. And then I have a major problem with this team in the second half in SEC play. So when you combine these two elements, it's hard to see this team as a playoff team if the playoffs started today. Now, the playoffs don't start today. This is the second half of the season. That's what starts today. Okay? But you were outscored by Georgia in the second half. We all watched that one. Vanderbilt, right? You actually led that one because you had to come back. South Carolina, it was tied. And then Tennessee, 24-10. So, man, like, yeah, look at these teams. South Alabama, Hawaii, UMass, UAB. Yo, that, like, all the media stations are trying to, like, they're about to send Trent Dilfer out of there. And you have more penalties than his team. It is sad, but I ain't making this up. This is the truth. Okay, so now I know this is probably why you're here. You want to talk about, is it time to sit Jaylen Miller? It's certainly interesting to talk about. I'm going to start a poll here in a second I'm just going to ask you, is it time to sit Jaylen Miller? The way that I'm looking to this question is, should Alabama start a different quarterback for this next game? Not for the entire season, like just for the next game, or at least like a half or something like that. I don't know. So let me type up the poll, and then you guys can respond, and we'll talk about it a little bit, okay? Should Alabama start Ty Simpson versus Missouri? So, it's been interesting. Obviously, you know me, huge supporter of Jaylen Miller, will always be, right? What I'm going with yes in this poll, just for a reset. I was talking to even my son last night, and he's like, they benched him last year against South Florida, and you saw a resurgence of Jaylen Miller from the rest of the season, and it actually kind of inspired the team. So I was thinking maybe that would happen, right? You get some momentum. You start seeing how the offense can move with a different quarterback. Because right now, it seems like it's stagnant. I feel like they're too reliant on a big play. I feel like he's just focusing in on Ryan Williams. And look, damn, they got the best wide receiver in college football. Coach Jaylen Miller, didn't really say that that wasn't the game plan. He has regressed in terms of his accuracy the last two games. Now, if you think that this was on him for losing against Vanderbilt, you're completely wrong, okay? Against Vanderbilt, he balled out, all right? Here are the facts to prove it, all right? I've been watching. I watch all the stats. I look at all the tendencies, okay? So against Vanderbilt, he was 18-24, 310 yards, and that interception, that wasn't on him. It was a tipped ball. I guess maybe he could have thrown it somewhere else. But Vanderbilt was playing some opportunistic football. But, I mean, his rating was still 188, right? Against Georgia, after that Georgia game, people were talking like he was going to be a first-round draft pick. But the last two games, and so his play has been poor over the last two games. So much so that people are talking now that he has an injury. That's the rumor, right? You always go to like the rumor mill is that he's injured. I haven't seen that. we've seen him play, he doesn't look injured to me at all. I think it's a combination of maybe that the fact that these are like the two defenses. They're like, look at the items that I highlighted at the left. He's been sacked 7 times in the last 2 games. South Carolina's defense was really good, and Tennessee's defense was really good. Okay, I think they absolutely had a game plan to stop Jaylen Miller, to send pressure to him, to take advantage of Alabama's vulnerable weak side of the right side of the offensive line. And I think Jaylen's just been inaccurate. I think he hasn't came with it. I don't honestly, and it seems like he's playing like right now kind of checked out. That's why I'm saying start somebody else and like maybe it can get a reset for him. This guy's the leader of the team. Steve Sarkisian just did it. The play calling also sucks. I think the pros are you start to see how the offense can move. You start to see if he can spread the football around. And you know what? Maybe you see if you can run the football without kind of the wear and tear in Jaylen. What if you feed Jam? What if Jam Miller gets like 18 carries? Right? Give your wear and tear to your running backs, not your quarterback. But maybe there's a reason why Ty isn't playing. You know, maybe there's a reason why they haven't got, like, Coach Saban didn't go with Ty other than the game against South Florida. But maybe there's a reason. Maybe he doesn't have it. In my heart, I still feel that Jaylen is the best quarterback on the team. But like where we're at right now is such a critical point. Something needs to reset. And you look at what you can control. Can you fire Coach Jaylen DeBoer? No. Can you fire Nick Sheridan? No. Can you fire Womack? No. Well, what can you do? You can change your quarterback. You can see if something can change from the offensive play calling. Those are like the controllables that you can change. So I don't know. It's tough for me to say because I'm riding with this guy, you know? And it's hard because I love the way the guy represents himself. I like how he took accountability following the game. But I think at just this point in time, just for this game, you know, you sit him and you see what somebody else can do. Now, I've talked to coaches. I've talked to people who have coached sports. And to my surprise, they're saying still roll with Milroe. So we're kind of divided. I think more people would probably want to see Milroe. But I don't know. What does the poll say so far? Yesterday, when we ran this, it was like 60% start a different quarterback. Right now, it's a little bit higher, 69%. I don't know. I think the cons are, and I think what people are afraid of is that if you bench him, is that you create a division within the locker room. And you can't coach like that. Like, it's your team. Like, Jaylen DeBoer, you are judged by your wins and losses. I don't want to get stuck in the whole first year. There's like this, these are, you know, it's going to be bumpy. Dude, you had the Heisman Trophy as your quarterback. You have Jam Miller. You have Caden Proctor. Like, you have guys. The defense is loaded, but you reconstructed it. That was on you. So, you know, I'm not going to be pissed off if, like, they roll out Jaylen Miller, which if I had to bet right now what Coach Jaylen DeBoer was going to do, I would bet every single thing that I own that he's going to start Milroe. And this is his team. And I think that they do beat Missouri, and they will get momentum from this game. Big Chevy saying he thinks that Ty has a little bit more room to grow, and that might be it. Bravo D, what's up, man? I appreciate you being here. But this is Milroe, you know, throughout these last, you know, through this midway point of the season. So the later games are up at the top. And KJU's bringing up a really good point. And I think a lot of people think that Jaylen Miller was a senior. He's not. He could very well come back next year. He could come back next year for 2025. Yep. Man, that's a lot of tosses for 45 when he was clearly struggling. But maybe what they were doing is trying to let him play out of it. I don't know. Something's got to change. And a lot of people have been criticizing the play of Justice Haynes. I've been noticing that too. That's kind of like a common theme. saying that he doesn't run hard. Jaylen Miller runs really hard. He's going to be fine from what I understand. But the last 2 games, 63% for Jaylen Miller against 2 good defenses, 2 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions, right? And the last 4 drives against Tennessee went for, 3 yards? That's what Pate said. Jarvis is saying keep a close watch on him, see how he's doing. Cam, you know what? That's another thing, too. Jaylen could maybe not. That's another scenario I didn't even think about. If you go with another quarterback, then you send him somewhere else of the transfer portal. I don't know. I think that I think he'll definitely go with Milroe. That's his guy. That's the leader. But I would think that, like, right now it's just such a critical point. I'm thinking, like, what could change? You know what's not going to change is the play of the secondary. This is going to be there's no fixing the Alabama secondary. These are the guys that you have, and that's how it's going to be. And either the quarterback is going to beat Alabama over the top or they're not. And so far, it's been like 85% that the quarterbacks can't hit receivers. And if that's the case, hey, that's only 15%. That's fine. It does lead to a touchdown every now and then. You saw that against Vanderbilt, South Carolina, and against Tennessee. I mean, even Nico threw a touchdown. And that guy has a long way to go before he gets to the best of his ability. See, Astoria is saying we can't just have tunnel vision. That's the thing. When you have me calling out what you're going to do on TV, man, I'm here watching TV with you. Imagine what the other defense thinks. Oh, Ryan Williams. They're going to throw it to Ryan Williams. And I think, too, like, that's a lot of Kendrick Law's frustration after the game, right? That last penalty. I think that's Caleb Odom's frustration. Like, receiver is a diva position. Those guys want the ball. Kendrick Law doesn't want to be a blocker, all right? As much as, like, Alabama's trying to frame that he's a great downfield blocker, the guy wants the football. He would be on my transfer watch list, 1,000,000%. A lot of the wide receivers probably will be. Richard Young doesn't get opportunities. But let's not forget about this guy, though, all right? Nick Sheridan, all right? I have a couple bones to pick with Nick Sheridan. This offense, they don't like to use the running backs, and maybe it's because they can't, because the offensive line, maybe they just can't run. I don't think it's like a talent. I know a lot of people have been critical about Justice Haynes, but has anybody been critical of Jaylen Miller? You know what? Let's stop right here. The first drive of the second half against Tennessee, Alabama was running the football with Jaylen Miller, and then they just stopped. They literally just stopped doing that, and they went back to, like, throwing the ball all over the field. But they were moving the ball. In fact, they scored a touchdown on that drive. The red zone play calling, I don't think it's it. That interception, I don't know who called that. Did Jaylen check out of that and wanted one-on-one coverage with the best wide receiver in college football? The offense, I think they do lack, like, an identity, but, like, right now it's predictable and they're just living off big plays. They're like, don't worry, we got Ryan Williams and he's gonna catch a 75-yard touchdown. Like, so that's what we're going to do, and it does work, but they just rely on big plays, and they have playmakers. I mean. The problem is this offensive line on the right side they're not good. That's probably the weakest part of the whole team is the right side. They're playing Wilkin Formby. This team does not have a right tackle. Like a quality right tackle. They will have to go into the transfer portal immediately. They do not have a right tackle right now. They don't. All right, so now we look at Kane Womack's defense. I mean, look at the games in the SEC. 519, 418, 374, 408. And like I told you, the secondary is not going to be changed. It's not going to be fixed. It's not going to be fixed. The secondary is the secondary. The way that Keon Sabb, you know what? Keon Sabb, we've been hard on him the last couple games. He played well last game against Tennessee, and he played well injured. He made a really big stop. I think his Pro Football Focus grade was like in the 80s. But other than that, I mean, and a lot of those guys, like I think Devontae Smith is injured. Who else was injured in the secondary? Because we saw, man, I showed you the Pro Football Focus grades yesterday. King Mack had like a grade of like 30. And there's just a couple other things. Like Caleb Odom, he was showing frustration. Players looking checked out on the sidelines. The lack of passion from Coach Kalen DeBoer, I get it. That's just kind of his demeanor. A lot of pre-win celebration type stuff that you see. This thing where they were like shooting the jump shot. I know a lot of people were, talking about that. And kind of when Mo Lindquist pushed K-Mac and he fell down, like you never used to see like Alabama be like memes of college football. You only saw like Florida State, Florida, Tennessee. Like we were laughing at those teams, right? Now people are like laughing because of like the things that Alabama is doing. Like, yo, I love the wide receivers. I mean, Ryan Williams is like the guy, but I don't like, why were they doing that? I didn't get that. They would like that sort of stuff is that's like part of the new culture. Like why are they doing that? I didn't get that. I really didn't. I like new stuff. I'm pretty traditional, but like I'm definitely like open to like new things. The celebrations like with the I have a turnover chain right here that I mess around with during the live shows. I'm not against stuff like that. But like this sort of stuff, I didn't really like that. Or like the celebrating when you're losing. That doesn't really make sense to me. Or like celebrating in tight games. Like don't celebrate when you're losing and don't celebrate when it's a tight game. Like celebrate in the locker room or when the game's over. Who I saw? I saw one of the Alabama assistants smoking a cigar before the game. Josh Chapman. Did you see this? He was smoking a cigar as Alabama was coming in. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's all part of the culture now. I couldn't believe it when I saw him smoking the cigar before the game. I had never, ever seen that. All right, let's turn the page real quick, and I'll take your calls here in just a little bit. I opened up the phone lines earlier today. Jason saying it's a bunch of crybabies. All right, Saturday, October 26th, you got homecoming, a game on ABC at 2:30. Alabama is favored by 13.5. Alabama now number 15 in the country, 5-2, 2-2 in SEC play. Missouri number 21, 2-1 in SEC play, 6-1 on the season. Crimson Tide led by Jaylen Miller, who has 1,700 passing yards and 13 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Jan Miller, 63 carries for 402 yards. 2-2 in SEC play under Coach Kalen DeBoer for the Tigers. Did you see this? This Brady Cook? I was reading up on him this morning. The quarterback, so he went out of the game, injured his ankle, all right, against Auburn. Auburn takes the lead. This guy goes to the Fieldhouse Hospital, takes off all his stuff, does a CT scan on his ankle. He's gone at the game. It happened in the first quarter. He's gone for an hour and a half. Thought he was completely done. There's 2 minutes left in the game. He comes back into the game from like the on-site hospital, right? And then he leads the team to a victory. So I guess his ankle's all right. And he has 1,500 yards on the season with 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. Did you see this, though? They lost to, I think I have in my next slide. Alabama's a 82% favorite by the Rat Poison Predictor and a 14-point favorite right there. The last 5 of each of these teams, you have Missouri. Auburn has lost so many games in the fourth quarter. It's, man, God, talk about frustrating. 21-17, 45-3 over UMass. They were beaten up by Texas A&M. beat Vanderbilt in overtime. You know what? Vanderbilt should have won that game. Vanderbilt's kicker, or at least the game should have went into another overtime. I watched that game. The field goal kicker missed it. And Missouri won that game. And then they beat Bill O'Brien 27-21. Then you can see for Alabama, actually lost, their 2 out of their last 3, which is crazy to think. And they're 0-2 against teams from Tennessee. Look at this. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I always like to look at like the head-to-head competitions in these particular facets of the game. Look at this. Tennessee had all of the green little check marks. Missouri has quite a few themselves. Rat poison predictor. So total offense, let's start with Alabama. 46. They keep on trending the opposite way. Total defense, 59. Again, trending down. Third down defense, trending down. This team was at one point number 1 on third down defense. Penalties, 129. 129. Huh. And then I didn't update time of possession. So I'll scratch that one. I'll have to go back and check it. Can someone do the time of possession real quick? Just go to NCAA football stats and do time of possession. I think Missouri has like an incredible time of possession stat, which is scary for Alabama fans. Total offense, 47 for Missouri. Total defense, they're number 9 in the country. Their third down defense is number 9, and then penalties, they're 48. And again, the time of possession has to be updated. All right. Look at these stats are telling. And I think they're in the top 10 for time of possession. They had, I think against Auburn, they had a drive that was like 90 yards and lasted like 12 minutes or something crazy like that. All right. You guys ready to call in? Call line is open, 205-850-1994. Coming up at 11:30, you got they either do Nick Sheridan first or Kane Womack, and then you got Coach Kalen DeBoer at 12. Usually it's been Nick Sheridan to kind of lead off, and then you have Kane Womack's been talking a lot. He kind of does like the whole filibuster stuff, but I think Nick Sheridan might be doing the filibuster today. All right. Call line is open. I appreciate you guys. Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. And when you guys call in, just keep in mind that there's probably somebody behind you that wants to call as well, and they might be madder than you. I'm just kidding. But when you call in, sound off, state of the program, whatever you want to talk about, any of the slides that I pulled up. I still need to update that time of possession, so that is not accurate. I'll keep you posted when I do update that. But I'm curious. I think Missouri's like way up there. All right, Chris from New Jersey batting leadoff. Let's start it up. Chris, what's up, man? Welcome on in. I appreciate you being here.
Hey, Kyle. Happy Monday.
Yeah.
Listen, let's just real quick. We're going to talk Milroe, and I'm going to say, this as somebody from New Jersey. I'm going to the mattresses with Milroe. All right, that's it. He's the best option for us to win out, and that's it. Yeah. Milroe is not playing right tackle, which has been a problem. Right guard has been a problem. Jaden Roberts has been hurt for games and games. I'm sure this Vandermark guy, I haven't watched him specifically, but we've got issues on the offensive line. More so issues on the offensive line. We have the offensive play calls from Sheridan. Yeah. Milroe's not calling these plays. Sheridan is. So, listen, if we had, Sark was the offensive coordinator and Milroe wasn't executing great plays inside, a great play call after great play call, yeah, he needs to be replaced. And I'll be the first one to say, hey, listen, if he has a horrible first half, then I agree with you. Let's kickstart this thing a little bit and let's make a change. But right now, he's the quarterback. Everybody take it easy. With all these yes votes, he's the best option for us to win out. Now, let's turn this thing into positive Alabama fans on a Monday for the rest of the season. Okay, this is all the Monday morning quarterbacking is all well and great, but the bottom line is we have one singular thing that all of us should be united on: is you win out and you're in, and that's all. That should be a banner, Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
If we lose one more game, it's over. Then we can bellyache all for the rest of the season and all through the winter. And it will be so sad to be negative town, or then maybe we'll turn it back to positive on the recruiting if we can keep all these recruits. But right now, let's go positive town, Kyle, and let's go win out, and we're in.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to take it one game at a time, and we got to win. We got to win out, and if we win out, we're going to be in the playoffs, and then we can and who knows what damage we can do. And you and I had a little brief conversation about this yesterday. We rode Womack, we buried Womack for 2.5 games, and he did better. He did better. His defense was on the field for too long. They were winded. Milroe's shoulders, which he took the responsibility for. You called that out, which was great, Kyle. Sheridan's play calling horrendous. Okay. And our guy, I'm still on the wagon, but DeBoer's on-field interview was poor. His post game that you posted was poor. I'm praying that that this interview you're going to post in a few minutes is better than what it's been. I'm glad you said filibuster. Adam, I see you're in the chat. Don't gloat. I'm going to the mattresses with Milroe still. He's our best chance to win. We have to win out. Let's unite in the fact that we got to win out. And listen, if sadly, and I'm praying that doesn't happen, if we get another loss, we're out. Then we're going to have to pick the whole team apart one by one, by position by position. We need the transfer portal. We need a new right tackle. We need this. We need that. We need we need a new defensive coordinator. We need a new offensive coordinator. And DeBoer needs somebody needs to light a fire under this guy, Kyle. Jeez,
Mm-hmm.
we're screaming more. We're more upset in the chat, and you and T than he was, and he's the head coach making $10 million a year, Kyle. So wait, I'm trying to keep this positive, Kyle. Hey, I think the undefeated wants to know who's a better play caller, you or T.
I don't know. I mean, it's pretty easy.
You both keep on calling Ryan Williams, just like our offensive coordinator, Kyle.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to predict. So
Kyle, that's my thing is win out and we're in. Yep. And let's all unite, kids. Let's all undefeated. That's our main goal. And let's pray that we win out. And if unfortunately, we'll be in, it's going to be a sad call on the Sunday or Monday if anything bad happens. So let's keep this positive. Let me say this now, because I've gone to the mattresses with Milroe. We are going to win out, Kyle. All right. So, did that sound assertive? Because it didn't sound that great. Yeah. Let me try that again, Kyle. We are going to win out. All right. That's it. So, all right. Thank you, Kyle.
Appreciate it, man.
Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Keep up the good work. I think that's a good hat. Kyle, also, one small bone to pick with you. We were having a rough day. No wardrobe change in the middle of the game. That could have helped. So I'm not putting any blame on you. I'm just kidding. All right, listen, Kyle, have a great rest of the day. Keep up the great work. My best to you. My best to the undefeated. Win out and we're in. That's our motto. Roll Tide, brother.
All right, man. Take it easy. Chris from New Jersey, batting lead up. I appreciate you joining today. Kyle Anderson, Bama Football on YouTube. Here's a look at the AP Top 10. We go right back to the phone lines. We got a 417. Hey, thanks for being patient. Who am I on line with and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle. It's Timothy. I'm calling in from Alabama.
Timothy, what's up, man? I appreciate you being here, man. Come with it, man. Welcome to the show.
Yes, sir. Okay, so this is going to be a little kind of crazy, but I added up ever since Jaylen DeBoer was hired at Washington till the last day against his Washington tenure. This is how many points he's outscoring opponents in the first half. 451 to 182. in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
In the first 2 years he was at Washington.
Mm-hmm.
In the second half, 237 to 133.
Wow.
Like
Good stat.
that's pretty wild. Like that was kind of crazy. So, and then I added up a little bit for Alabama, and I think it was like 132 to like 32.
Mm-hmm.
He's outscoring people in the first half. But that's just a small stat I wanted to look at. But if as Alabama fans, we need to be rooting for Texas A&M against LSU. I know it sucks. I hate LSU with a passion, so I can't go for them anyway. We have to go for Texas A&M against LSU to give them their second loss because Texas A&M has a harder schedule at the back end.
Mm-hmm.
LSU has an easier one.
Mm-hmm.
We have to go for Ohio State losing to Penn State and losing to Michigan, which I highly freaking doubt. But we need Penn State to beat Ohio State. BYU, Ohio State, they're going to take each other out. Well, they don't play each other, but they suck. I mean, it's a miracle they're in the top 15, so they're playing pretty good right now, but I think they're going to lose later. I mean, we just need Tennessee to lose to Georgia, which that's going to happen. They got Tennessee. We need Texas to lose to Texas A&M, but, you know, I don't know if that's going to happen. That would be an interesting game. But in order for Alabama to make the SEC championship, there's got to be total carnage. There's still a chance, a sliver of a chance, but we need total carnage for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I have faith it'll happen. I mean, we've seen in 2022 when they said Alabama was out, which we were, but they were conversations about us and then Ohio State, and it was like neck and neck. And we lost 2 games, and Ohio State got bludgeoned at home by Michigan. So I mean, anything can happen, Kyle. You know, I have faith in this team. As more that I think about it, Josh Pate was like, you know, with everybody leaving and, you know, him having to keep people together, I guess it's okay to be buddy with people in his first year so people don't leave until you get more recruits coming in. But in that second year, that's when you got to lay that hammer down, and that's when everything changes. So that's when Josh Pate kind of woke me up to that idea. So I have faith in Kalen DeBoer. I mean, those stats speak for itself. Like, total, that's like 700 to 300. Like, he's outscoring people. That I just don't know what's happened with Alabama this year. So that's all I got to say, Kyle. I wanted to bring up some stats. That's all.
Love it, man. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for calling in, man. Take it easy. All right, Timothy, be safe on the road, bro. We got a 251 and a 470 coming up next. Here's a look at the SEC football schedule in case you missed it. I showed it earlier. Really the one that we're watching now that we know kind of the parameters of the SEC and where teams are ranked is that LSU and Texas A&M one, 6:30 on ABC, following the Alabama and Missouri game, where Texas A&M is a 2.5 favorite. I think I might take LSU in that game. Kind of looking at the way the LSU has been playing lately, I think that the Tigers will get them. It would be a gigantic win. You actually want A&M to win in that game because if you look at A&M's schedule, you got to think that maybe they lose to South Carolina, maybe they lose to Texas, right? And then they're a 2-loss team. So you start looking at different parameters of who wins. LSU, that would be their first loss, and then let's say Bam against them, they get their second loss. You look at Tennessee. You got to think that Tennessee loses. You know, they're gonna. That offense is just, man, it's bad. They're definitely not beating Georgia, and maybe somebody else beats them. So Bama's not completely out of it. I mean, a lot of things have to happen now, but just kind of looking at the picture, you know, there's a marquee game this week. 251, let's do it. I appreciate you being here. How's it going? Who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
This is Rusty from Gulf Shores, Alabama.
Hey, Rusty, what's up, man? I appreciate you calling in from Gulf Shores, man. Welcome to the show and take it away.
Well, first of all, you know, my wife's an Auburn grad, so she doesn't have much sympathy for my situation after this weekend, even though I complained about this unopened cigar. Listen, when it comes to when it comes to the right side of our line, and when it comes to Mill Road, and when it comes to these freaking go routes that we just keep running with all the receivers, I mean, I think there's one key adjustment that I think we can make. I don't know if you realize, but like when we played Georgia, we had tight ends that were on that side of the line, which kind of, you get a tight end on that side of the line, not only can they block down, but they're also a possible target for you. So it kind of throws the defense off a little bit. Not only that, but if you get some of these short passes, these tight ends, it's going to build a little confidence with Milroe. I'm not ready to – yeah, I'm upset, but I'm an old dude, man. Like, I've been through Bear Bryant, through every coach since then. It's a little bit of down year or whatever, but you just got to take it with a grain of salt, man. I'll tell you what, when you pray for patience, God doesn't give you patience. What he gives you is opportunities to learn to be patient. And I think that's what this team and this coach is going through right now. I mean, I'm not happy with it, but it is what it is. Roll Tide, my brother. You have a great day.
All right, man. Take it easy. I appreciate it, man. And prayers out to your wife for being an Auburn fan. So, all right, Rusty. Take it easy, man. All right, 470 and 201 up next. The craziest thing is, like, I know it's not even listed on this graphic that I have here, but, like, Auburn, can you imagine? Like, it's scary to think about what that team is capable of. Because let's say Alabama starts rolling and they win, the rest of these games, Mercer included. You go into that Auburn game, and Auburn hasn't won a game, let's say, in the SEC. They could completely, right? That would be like their Super Bowl. They would roll Toomer's corner. Like, you can never count out that team. And that's another thing, is Coach Jaylen Miller. He never played at Neyland. Like, playing in the SEC is a weekly gauntlet. Going to that third weekend in October, it's crazy. Going to Death Valley against the Tigers is crazy. The Iron Bowl is crazy. These are all the first year type things that you're encountering and learning from. All right, it's 470. Hey, welcome to the show. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
This is D from Atlanta, Kyle.
Hey, what's up, D? I appreciate you calling in from the ATL, man. Come with it.
Now, I'm going to say this. Now, I love our fan base, and I love your show. I've been watching for a while now. This is my first time calling to any show. I love how positive our fans are, but let me just bring the negativity in here. Bro, we are trash. Listen, it's to the point where teams don't even have to play a perfect game to beat us. South Carolina, like, bro, the game was so hard to watch from both ends. Like, the kid fumbled the ball just out of how do y'all have any optimism towards the end of the season? We have LSU. We have Auburn. Oklahoma probably will beat us. Like, there is no way that you can literally sit up here and say, I get what y'all saying. We can make minor adjustments. But, bro, it's past. It's major adjustments. This shit is ridiculous. The offensive coordinator don't know how to call offensive plays for Jaylen Miller. The guy don't, 27 passes in the first half. No quarterback in the NCAA should be doing that. Period. None. I don't care what conference you play for. That doesn't work. That doesn't even work in high school. Bro, it's like you beat Georgia, and you running tight end dunks, short passes. You gathering up plays to go down the field. I don't understand where it stopped. I don't get it. And then Kevin the boy comes to the press conference. This is what he says. This guy literally says, it's an execution thing. We just got to learn. What? It's a schematics thing, bro. It's a schematic. You can literally fire every coach on this. I can go out there and say, guys, just play football, 11 on 11. And they'll have a fucking better game than what they playing now. Literally, you can tell them to play backyard football, and they will play better. I don't understand. Kane Womack, I let off of you a little bit because last week you didn't do too bad. Honestly, I still don't like the 3-down lineman. I don't get it. Why do you run 3-down linemen when you're getting gashed? You came out in the second half running the exact same thing. You didn't make no adjustments. Well, people keep saying they make the wrong adjustments. They're not making any adjustments. There are none. There are literally none. None. Kyle, bro, I don't understand. Bro, I'm literally looking at the TV, and I'm saying to myself, why he want you to do this? Why won't he do this? Why won't he do this? I got friends at the house. Why he want to do this? Bro, you make $10 million a year. How do you not know this? Do you not know? I know you're not Nick Saban. I'm sorry, Kyle, to go on this rant. This is my first time calling. I know that you're not Nick Saban, brother. I understand. But this Vanderbilt game, we went down 14-0 in the first quarter. Do you know Nick Saban would have had his fucking headset broken on the sideline, and the camera would have been panning on him, and the people would have been saying, "Oh, there go Nick Saban again." Bro, you have no. Bro, I was in the military. if my sergeant, if a mission gets messed up and my sergeant just all willy-nilly like, oh, we'll work next time, I'm not going to care. I'll never care that the mission gets messed up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always going to have the mentality, okay, we can just keep – bro, you have no fire. Like, even when Kirby won versus Texas, he was fired up.
Yeah.
Like, you smiling coming out the field, winning to South Carolina by 2. Like, what the fuck are you thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is not Washington, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You are this is the most prestigious college football team in the land, in any conference.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand you want to do it. Matter of fact, I don't understand. Bro. Because this is my thing. If I'm, okay, say this, Kyle. If you coming in behind arguably one of the greatest coaches to ever coach the game, and you say, oh, we're going to keep the same standard, but, I'm going to do things my way. Bro, no, fuck your way. This guy has won 7. You should do verbatim what he did. Verbatim. You should do verbatim. You playing music at practice. These guys say they on the phone when you walk in. You smiling. Jaylen Miller not even smiling. Like, what the fuck? Like, what? Bro, I am so over this season, dog. There is no – I understand the optimism of our fans, and I love it. And I'm going to let you go. There is no way, and let me repeat, there is no fucking way we are going to a natty. I 5% believe that we will even make – bro, how do you think we're going to beat Garrett Nussmeier? How do you think we're going to beat Oklahoma's defense? How do you think we're going to beat Peyton Thorne? And they suck. Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm so frustrated. Bro. And my thing is, bro, Nick Saban, if you had any love for this program, bro, call this man and get him some tips. I don't want you to overstep because I know it's his job now, but, brother, if you love this school like you say you do, there's no way you sitting back watching this shit happen. Yeah. I mean, teams are averaging 280 yards on us. Bro, get fucking serious. We have arguably some of the best inside linebackers in the – I don't – how? How do you go up 28-0 on Georgia? You let them score 36 unanswered points. You made no adjustments since week 4. Bro, the guy literally came out the second half running the same 3 down linemen and 3 linebackers. And literally all Tennessee did was say, hey, we're going to do the same shit, just run the ball harder. They literally ran the same exact plays. The dude just act like he wanted to fucking run. And he did.
Hey,
like, I don't
you know
get
what?
It. 16 plays, 17
You know
plays.
what, D? Tennessee didn't even have to run the shovel pass.
Come on, bro. Come on, Kyle. Come on, man.
Oh, man.
Come on, man. You get beat by – you got Vanderbilt. Bro, you just quarterback all on the SEC network talking shit about us. Like, bro, it is so past that you should have been heated right now, bro. I would have called the whole team in. Like, and just had the – hold on, let me get – K-Loss. He should be suspended in the first half next game. No excuses. What the fuck are you waiting on? And the first thing I would have said in the press conference, oh, K-Law is not playing this game, period. It's a standard here, brother. It is a standard. You're sitting on it.
Yeah.
You're literally sitting on Paul Bryant. You're sitting on Nick Saban. I'm sorry to take out time, Kyle. I'm going to let you go. But, bro, with conclusion, I will say this. I love Alabama fans. I roll tide for life. But I'm letting y'all know now, if you got optimism in this season, bro, throw that shit away. We barely beat South Carolina. The guys were 16 yards away from a fucking game-winning field goal. Like, come the fuck on. We lost to Vandy. They lost to Tennessee. It's not even that they're beating us with miraculous plays. It's a good game. Hail Mary. Oh, they beat us. Guys, they are beating our ass. Tennessee didn't score a touchdown to the 3rd. What the fuck is the issue? Excuse my profanity. I don't get it, bro. I'm so heated up. And y'all getting on this call with Kyle, talking real calm, and that we need to make these adjustments and do this and do this and do this. Brother, we are in the 7th week of the season. It's not much you can do from this point. Like, Kyle, what can they do from this point? It's the 7th week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, so, man, I'm going to keep listening, Kyle, but, hey, I'm just saying I'm getting heated and more heated every time a Bama fan get on here, all calm, talking about all this optimism about what need to happen. Bro, this last caller, bro, and I love you. you literally named like 6 scenarios that got to happen. Like, bro, come on. Like, come on, bro. When the hell has Alabama needed 6 scenarios to get into anything? Like, come on, man. I know it's your first year, bro, but, bro, it's not that we're losing. It's how you're losing. No adjustments, no changes, no sense of urgency, no anger. Like, bro, I wouldn't even been able to talk at the press conference. I would have threw my fucking head and walked off. Find me. Like, bro, I'm so heated. I don't understand how you not just mad with your team. I mean, K-Law pushing the guy from a 4th and – you take it from a 4th and 7 to a 4th and 2. You would have never did that with Nick Saban. Why? Because you know your ass would have been on the bench next game. They do what you allow them to do, bro. That's life. Everybody's going to treat you how you allow them to treat you, bro. Period. Like, and, bro, oh, my God. It's just so much, bro. Get this freshman off these fucking podcasts. Why does this freshman have a podcast? He's a freshman. You should be so dialed into this playbook, it ain't even funny, dude. Like, after the Vanderbilt loss, that would have been done. You earn those things. They're not, like, you have to earn those things. They're not given. Like, come on, man. Like, I don't know, Kyle. I love the show, man. You one of the first people I started listening to when I started watching the Alabama podcast. I've been a fan, but I just never really watched. You know, I drive trucks, so I listen in now, but I'm frustrated, man, and I'm hot. I'm in the heart of it. I stay in Atlanta. I have to hear it all day long. We lost to Tennessee. Georgia fans don't even care that we beat them. Like, it's just, we're a laughing stock at this point, man. We're a laughing stock. Laughing stock. I mean, come on, bro. You push the guy in the face. Like, what, bro? Of course he's talking trash to you. Look at how y'all been playing. Like, I be talking to you too. Like, bro, like, what the? Like, Jaylen Miller should have threw his fucking headset right then and fucking went bananas, bro. He should have went bananas. Like, I don't know. I don't think we should fire him. I definitely think we need another offensive coordinator. I don't even think he should be off the staff. Just demote him to what he was supposed to be in the beginning. Kane Womack, I don't like the 4-2-5, bro. It's just not going to work. Like, even when we have our good spurts of stopping stuff, it's always open receipt. There's never a tight window for a quarterback to throw on this defense. They're always open, Kyle. They're always open. Let's just be realistic. We should be 1-5. The only team we should be Western Kentucky. USF made 3 wide open touchdowns. We should have been out 21-0. Wisconsin starting quarterback got hurt. Come on, man. Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? We should have been lost. Georgia scored 36 unanswered points. We were up 28. Like, bro. It's bad. It's bad all across the board. The morale isn't there. The discipline isn't there. The play calling isn't there. The only thing we really have are athletes, and that's it. It's just athletes just on the field. There's no guidance, just nothing. Just pure athleticism and nothing else. Like, bro, you're in the SEC. This is not Washington. 45 times with Jaylen Miller. Like, bro, I love Jaylen Miller. And I know he's been having the last couple games have not been good. And I'm not taking none of the fault of him. He has been playing like ass. But, brother, when you ask this man to chop back 40, no rollouts. I watch Coach Sean. They're not moving the pocket. You're not moving the lunch pad, the target. You're literally dropping him 3 steps back when your right tackle is getting killed and telling him to make reads. Like, bro, he's not Michael Penix. Like, that's not going to work. They're like, how does he have more carries than a running back? Oh, my God. Bro. Kyle, I'm going to let you go because I know the next caller waiting. Roll Tide forever. I never change. But I'm telling y'all now, this season, man, throw this shit in the trash, bro. If we went out, Kyle, I would call back and freaking apologize to everybody. I will send you a big-ass super chat. I'm telling you, Kyle, if we went out, I would do that. But I promise you, bro, if you ain't seen Garrett Nussmeier throw that ball and Kyron Lason, bro, it's going to be a fucking blowout. It's going to be a blowout in Death Valley. I'm telling you, dog. I'm telling you.
All right,
but I
D.
love you, Kyle.
Love you too, brother. Take
brother.
it easy, man. All right. That was D calling out with the hot call from the ATL. We got about 15 minutes till I would imagine you hear Kane Womack and then Nick Sheridan, and then Coach Jaylen Miller. It all starts at 11:30. I'll take you through that, and then I'll come back for a close, and then we'll chop it up. I'm actually giving a lecture today at the University of Alabama, which is pretty cool. It'll be my second opportunity to give a lecture at the University of Alabama. Today I'm talking about analytics and how it impacts YouTube, Facebook, different social media accounts. So it's to a master's class. Last year I gave it on YouTube, and the professor asked me earlier this year to come back and give a lecture. So that's this afternoon, talking about analytics. And I would have never thought it would be, because, obviously Mondays are busy. They're just busy in general. But then when you tack on the Alabama loss, I know, that they would lose to Tennessee, when I scheduled this. So, but I'm going to gut it out. So, after this, I'm working on a whole different slide for analytics. So the way that I run the show, I use the same software basically for this analytics. So I'll be a professor this afternoon. Let's go to the phone lines. We got Mike in Austin. Mike, what's up, man? Appreciate you coming. Mike from Austin, what's going on, man?
Kyle, perfect timing. Perfect time for you to call in after that guy's rant that just called in. What disappointed me the most was all the positive reinforcement that guy got in the chat. Kyle, I'm just going to I just got to defend my beloved Crimson Tide, man. Everybody get on the train or get off the train. Apparently that guy, by the way, needs to go wash his mouth out. He needs to get off the train and not get back on. Kyle, here's the deal, man. We're first. We already know this. We already all know this, dude. It's a first-year coach, a new roster, pretty much, a new SEC, man, playing at Tennessee. I mean, it's not like we lost 54-0. And P.S., Kyle, I'm not one to complain about the officiating, blame the officiating, but there are so many blown calls. I'm starting to think there's some kind of conspiracy with the officiating, and I don't know how stupid that sounds, but what is Alabama? Every game Alabama's in has 30 flags compared to the Georgia-Texas game with hardly no flags. But if they would have called that, I'm not one to complain about the officiating. But this is how close it is, okay? If the officials would have called that penalty on Ryan Williams, that touchdown at the game on Ryan Williams, and the touchdown in the end zone, if they would have called that, through that flag, that would have been a game-changing flag. That's how important them one flags are. That's why Texas had to freak out during the Georgia game. That one flag can change the game. The officiating totally sucked, but here's the deal. I'm not going to blame I'm not going to be that guy, but the officiating did suck. But here's the deal, Kyle. First-year coaching staff, turnover roster, and this is the rope, and this is the slack that we're going to give our new coach. Already wanting to lynch to behead the guy, this last guy. This is the support we're giving our team because we barely lose 2 games. This is the support we're giving our team, man. Bama fans, I'm here to tell you, man, I'm 58 years old. We've got to do better, man. We cannot give up on our team and our coaches, dude, for losing 2 games. We're stuck with Milroe. I knew that after the Texas game. We're stuck with Milroe. I knew that after the Texas game last year. It was done. But listen, guys, quit hating on my beloved Crimson Tide. Yeah, by the way, we still do control our own destiny. Newsflash. I know it sounds bad, but we do. What if? And the people saying that we're going to lose the rest of the game from this point, that's just stupidity. We're not going to lose the rest of the game from this point. We're a good team. We're a top 10 team. We just happen to have some bad luck. Kyle, I got to defend my team, man. It's not as bad as it seems to be, dude. When you've been on top for 15 years, the only place to come is down a little bit, man. New coaching staff. Like I mentioned, dude, we lost 2 games every year for the past 3 or 4 years. We can't give up. We can't let the naysayers like that foul-mouthed asshole, in my point, my personal opinion. We can't let the naysayers ruin our team and ruin our future, man. We got to stay focused. We can't give up on our coach. We can't give up on our team. We can't let the foul-mouthed naysayers. Kyle, I'm highly, highly disappointed about the support that guy got in the chat, man. Come on, Bama fans. Support our team, man.
Mike out in Austin with the call. Thanks for calling in. We got a 201. We'll try to get to our 601. We're close to 11:30. That's when they start the press conferences. So what? I'll run through this real quickly because I know you guys. Mario Gates says with a super chat, thank you, Mario Gates. I appreciate it. First super chat of the day. I paid $3,000 to sit at Neyland Stadium and watch Alabama make 0 adjustments and get pushed around by Tennessee. My ears are still ringing from God awful Rocky. I'm telling you, I don't know why that super chat. They've all been coming in orange, which is hilarious. I don't know if it's kind of like a burn or like what's happening, but yeah, they also pump extra music or loudness into that stadium. I was told that by a source, like right on Alabama's offensive line, and they played Rocky Top the whole time. It's crazy. I went there a couple years ago. Same thing. Let me run through these Pro Football Focus grades because I haven't touched on this today. Let me just run through it real fast. It won't take me but 2 minutes. So hang tight. I'll get to my calls in just a second. Caden Proctor up at the top, number 74, left tackle, played in 82 snaps, had a grade of 63.8 overall. Parker Brailsford, 49.4. Tyler Booker, 54.1. Jaylen Miller, 54.8. That's his lowest grade of the season. Ryan Williams, 63.5. As Mike was pointing out, the guy did get held multiple times on that job. One of them probably would have been a touchdown. This is concerning, though. You got Elijah Pritchett with 36.1. That I haven't seen an offensive lineman have a grade like that. And then Jaden Roberts, a couple stakes lower down here at 47.9. So, anytime I keep saying the offensive line has a tremendous issue on the right side, like that's exactly it. Let me show you the defensive numbers real quick, and then I'll get to my next call, and then we're working our way towards 11:30 as we have Alabama's to have Nick Sheridan, Kane Womack speak following the loss to Tennessee. I'll sort it by total. Malachi Moore played in 76 snaps, had a grade of 80.1. Came up with a fumble and then also an interception, right? Deontay Lawson, 87.1. I didn't, 87.7. I didn't, his grade is ultra high. This was concerning right here. This King Mack, 36.5. Like, whoa, that's crazy. You see Damani Jackson, 55.3. Where's this one? I didn't understand this. Let's see. Xavier Brown right here, 15 snaps? That can't be right. How did he only play in 15 snaps? That they don't even have another corner on here. Jalen Mbakwe said he played in 45 snaps. Huh. Interesting. Oh, and then King Mack, and then Quay had a rough night at the ballpark too. So anyways, those are the Pro Football Focus stats. I know some of you have asked me about those. We got about 7 minutes. Let's jump right into it. 201, you're up. Hey, I appreciate you being patient. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle, it's Adam calling from New Jersey today. How's it going?
Adam, what's up, man? I appreciate you calling from the road, man. Usually you're in Georgia, today from New Jersey. We got like 7 minutes left before we go to like the press conferences. So with that said, Adam's a frequent caller on here, but and a strong supporter of the YouTube channel. So welcome on in, Adam, by way Georgia, New Jersey. Come with it, man.
All right, thanks. I'll keep it quick. Yesterday on your show, Kyle, it was one of the best shows you've had because you said you had to talk about uncomfortable truths, and you were honest, and you were 100% spot on. Milroe has hit his ceiling, and he has a long time ago. The interceptions are the same. He still panics in the pocket. He's a one-read quarterback. He targets Ryan Williams, 20 times? He is not the answer. Number two, Milroe limits the offense because he can't implement DeBoer's full scheme. And it's about time that everyone stops blaming Bill O'Brien, Tommy Rees, and Nick Sheridan and blaming everybody but Milroe. I know that people are attracted to Milroe because of his athleticism. He's an amazing athlete, but he is not a good quarterback. Now, as far as replacing him at this point, I don't think that's going to work. First, I don't think Ty Simpson even wants to start at this point, because he would come into a situation that has become so political and so divisive that anything he does wrong he would be chastised for. I think ultimately Boer's going to stick with Milroe, but that's going to lead to a season with 3 or 4 losses because, like I said, he's a one-read QB. He limits the offense. And until people start being honest about him as a QB instead of trying to blame everything and everyone but him, Alabama will have these results.
Adam with a call from New Jersey. Adam, I asked, and I pointed this out earlier. I know you're talking about the quarterback, but let me switch gears for 1 second. Like, are you completely surprised each week with the amount of penalties that this team has? Because right now I pointed out they're ranked 129. Do you think that's on Kalen DeBoer? Do you think it's just on the team? Where do you kind of, point the finger to on the amount of penalties that Alabama's been getting every single week, specifically in the last 4 games in SEC play?
That's a great question. The fact of the matter is that under Saban, we were heavily penalized. So this represents a continuation of a problem and not an introduction of one. So I place it ultimately on the players and their discipline, because remember in 2022, the penalties we had against Tennessee when we lost in Knoxville, we're seeing a continuation of the same problem that Saban couldn't fix and that DeBoer is struggling with. So I don't blame the coaches. I blame the players and their lack of discipline. I blame the fact that Tyler Booker goes on interview after interview and talks about murder ball and then gets murdered in almost every game. Look at his player grade. That Milroe, good for him making millions of NIL money. But my point is that these players are not embracing old school values. It's not about money. It's about working your ass off. It's about doing the right things and making the right choices every day. It's about embracing the process that Nick Saban preached for years. These players aren't doing that, and that's why you see the results. And it only affirms how good Saban was and how long DeBoer has to go.
All right. I appreciate the call, Adam. Thanks for calling in, man. It's good to hear from you. Thanks for the continued support of the channel, man. Thank you so much. All right.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Adam calling up. We'll try to squeeze the 601 in. I think it's Jay from Pensacola. We'll take it real quick. If I don't get to you today, I'm having frequent shows right now because there's a lot of call volume because people want to talk. So I might be playing with some shows in the evening time, which is uncharacteristic. But considering it's hot, I might be doing some call-ins in the evening time. So Jay, let's make this our last call up until the press conferences. We'll go to Jay in Pensacola. Hey Jay, I appreciate you calling in, man. We got just a few minutes, man. So hit on it and let's get to the press conferences. But welcome on, Jay from Pensacola. Come with it, man.
I got you. Just got a question. You think we hit the portal hard when the portal opens?
Yeah.
Yes, we did not. We did not inherit the best of teams, and I do agree with that. But he did work well. He got. I can't agree with that. And I mean, I hate the fact it happened to us, but it happened. And I think we need to hit the portal hard when the portal opens up. And that's all I got, Kyle.
All right, man. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for chiming in close to the end right here. Yeah, so let me I'm going to get set up real quick. I'm going to take like a quick pause. Actually, I should be able to. I'll swing it in when it comes through. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, we hit on a lot of different points today. I think I posted a poll, like, what is the biggest issue right now with Alabama, the offense and defense? I think it's kind of heavy on the offensive side right now. Last week, if I would have posted it, would have been on the defense. I think there's a lot of different issues that you could point to for Alabama. And can some of these issues be fixed? I think yes and no. I don't think the issues within the secondary can be fixed at all. I think that these are just the players. What is concerning is if we have to see some of these younger guys that don't have experience step up in larger roles. For example, like King Mack, clearly he's not ready at this point in time. He actually looks slow in my opinion. So I'm not sure. I don't know if it was me that just noticed that or if I don't know. It just seemed like he was kind of out of position, and these guys have already been getting beat by other wide receivers, so that is something to keep your eye on. I think in this particular game, as I said, it's probably time for a transition at the quarterback position, at least just for a half or just to kind of maybe reset a little bit, because that's something that you can control and that's something that you can change. Maybe you feed the running backs more. Maybe you win another game of time of possession, which you did against Tennessee. I don't know. I mean, I strongly doubt that there's any sort of change at quarterback. And even Adam, who is not a Jaylen Miller guy, says that that's not going to fix the problems that Alabama's having. I do agree with that. We heard from D from Atlanta, who kind of went off on this team and said that this season is absolutely trash. And you hear a lot of frustration from the fans, and curious to see what the coaches say about the direction of this team. I'll take a quick pause real fast, and then when the coaches get to it, I'll bring it. Actually, we should be able to start here momentarily. Let's see. All right, 1 second. Going right to Kane Womack. They started a little bit early.
Yeah, obviously, disappointing to come away with a loss, and with a group of guys that played very hard, very physical in the game, left it all out on the field. We ask a lot of our experienced players, ask a lot of some young players that had to step up in some big moments, and I thought our players played extremely hard. And so it's always challenging. The game does not always reward you for your effort, and our guys certainly recognize the reward and consequence of wins and losses, and how hard you have to be able to continue to work through adversity. I thought they had a really good mentality, took great ownership, us as coaches, them as players, together as a football team, in terms of identifying the things that we've got to continue to build in consistency, so that we can have success in the end and find a way to win. We had 11 game changers. We had 3 takeaways, 3 sacks, 3 3-and-outs, and then 2 4th-down stops in the way of missed field goals that we were able to kind of hold in that high red zone area. I thought we actually stopped the run well outside of 3 explosive plays. And so you look up, obviously the yardage is not what we want, but you look at how they got those yards. It wasn't 7-8 yards a carry. It was 3 explosive plays given up, one of them obviously being a quarterback scramble. One of them we were able to create a takeaway on, and then a misfit, a misleverage. We let a guy outside, and they were able to hit a 35-yard chunk on us. So those are things that have to continue to work to get cleaned up. I think that's some of the consistency and execution that we have to continue to provide and build, that we're not there yet, and those explosives obviously are costly. For us, discipline to do your job over and over again is the key, especially against a team like that that can create explosive plays. I thought there were a lot of great things to point to, but ultimately, you look at it, our goal of the week was 12 game changers. We got 11. It kind of felt like that was the game, is we ultimately needed one more stop. We needed one more play from a defensive perspective in order to win the game, and we came up short. Those are hard things to deal with as a team, but our players, I think, are ready to go to work and to respond, and some young players that have stepped up last week and are going to be asked to step up moving forward as well. And so I think they're all ready for the challenge. I talked to the players yesterday. All that should be on our minds is, what do we have to do to beat Missouri on Saturday? And anything outside of that is a distraction and does not keep focus on the main thing. And ultimately, during adverse times, right, that's what you have to do, is keep the main thing, stay focused on the task at hand. And I think our guys are doing a really good job in that. Moving forward to Missouri, certainly a lot of familiar faces and I guess familiar schemes. Eli Drinkwitz and I have known each other for a long time. Both grew up in Northwest Arkansas. Their defensive coordinator, Corey Batoon, was my defensive coordinator at South Alabama for the last 3 years. Worked for my dad for a number of years. So obviously, system, scheme-wise, right, there's a lot of similarities. And then, very impressed with Kirby Moore and what they've done offensively. You see elements to what Drink has done over the years, under even going back to Gus Malzahn and some of the things that he was doing at App State and NC State. And then certainly you see a lot of the flavor even of some of the things we do offensively under Kirby Moore. And so a lot of formations. They're certainly explosive on the outside. A lot of different things and pictures that they're going to show you. They've got a really dynamic passing game with an experienced quarterback. I think the dude is a extremely tough player. To be able to go whatever it was. I think it was the second drive of the game. He was out and then to come back in the third quarter and really, willed his team to win the game through running the football and scrambling, I thought was really impressive coming off of an injury. So impressed by their team, impressed by their toughness and their grit, and we'll certainly have a tremendous challenge on Saturday that we're working very hard to make sure we maximize our opportunities.
All right, thanks, Coach. Let's start with Charlie Potter on the right here.
Yeah, hey, Coach, you mentioned Missouri's ability for explosives downfield. Just how concerning is it when you see wide receivers kind of get open deep on a consistent basis? And what do you do to kind of fix that?
I think, I think for us, right, making sure that you have layers to what you're doing defensively. You want to make sure that you're staying on top of routes. There's times, right, where you're going to challenge routes in the first 10 yards. And so there's different ways of being able to defend the deep ball. So sometimes you want to stay on top of the route. Sometimes you want to defend it right where you're challenging things in the first 10 yards. And even though you may be, step for a step with a guy or whatever it may be, you've disrupted the timing of the route to eliminate some of the deep threats as well. And I think, those are the things that you've got to just continue to be able to harp and work in and mix it. And pressure is most certainly a huge piece to being able to defend some of the long throws downfield as well.
Two questions on the left side. We'll go to Chase and then Colin.
You mentioned at the top some young guys had to step in and play football. I assume two of those you're talking about are King Mack and Bray Hubbard. How did they play, in your opinion?
Well, I thought Bray really did some great things in the game. Obviously, had a huge third down stop when we needed to go 3 and out in that scenario right there and get the ball back for our offense, and he made a hell of a play. I thought he did some really good things in the game. King was asked to do a tough deal. He's played multiple positions, both our field safety and our nickel, the Husky position, and I thought he battled his tail off and made some plays, and ultimately I know he would have loved to have had that last touchdown back, but there's some things that we've got to be able to continue to clean up from a fundamental standpoint and man coverage that he did in certain plays, but ultimately a heck of a play by their team, not taking anything away from it, but certainly he and us would love to have that last touchdown back.
Kind of on top of that, I mean, Keon Sabb and Devonta Smith haven't left the field much for you guys, and I'm curious, with what Bray did, with what King did, and some of the other guys that you mentioned, like what did you learn about your DB depth after the Tennessee game, and kind of how much it is, how little, things like that?
Well, I think there's always a next man up mentality. Those guys have to be ready at a moment's notice. You talk about those things. You have a sense of urgency in practice that, the guys that are rolling with the twos have to know that at any given moment, right, they could step in and have major impact on a game. Certainly a game like this where you had, a number of DBs that went down, you can point to this to say, hey, this is why it's so critical, right, that you have the same level of urgency that the guy that may be going out with the starting defense, because at any given moment, right, you're going to come in and have a tremendous impact on the game one way or another, whether you're prepared for it or not. And so certainly I think our young guys, they seem to do that in practice. They have an urgency to be able to get in. Bray Hubbard was a great example of that, goes about his business workmanlike every single day and really prepares with an expectation that he's going to go in, and he produced at a really high level. But it's certainly an opportunity for us to be able to point towards how critical practice habits have to show up one way or another in games.
Go right up the middle here, Mike.
How would you describe what happened on that illegal substitution penalty where it looked like Moling was pushed King and then he went down?
Yeah, I mean, guys, obviously, we tell guys if you're injured or if you're hurt or if you're, pulling up with a cramp, you got to go down in that situation. We're not able to substitute someone when a team is going fast, and so if you're injured, the protocol there is for a guy to go down, and I think we were able. Our training room does a tremendous job, and we got a guy back after however long it was.
Any other questions for Coach? Let's finish up with Katie here on the left.
Jaylen talked after the game, about this team hasn't or struggled to play complete football on both sides of the ball. When the offense is doing well, the defense maybe isn't, and vice versa. And I know you're just in charge of one side of the ball, but maybe why do you think that is, and how can that change that this team can play complete football?
That's a great question. I mean, those are the things that's the secret sauce, right? How do we play team football, offense, defense, special teams, collectively together to maximize our opportunity to win? You're going to have moments, right, where one side of the ball versus another may be executing better on any given moment. The most ideal thing is that we're all hitting on all cylinders, for 4 quarters, but that rarely happens in a game or in a season. I think as you look at this, there are no excuses, right? The standard is the standard, and you have to find a way to win, and you have to find a way to play complementary football across the board. But these are some of the growing pains that we're going to deal with and continue to work through as a football team. But I think there's a ton of confidence in our players and coaches, and knowing that we are taking steps in a direction to be able to have great team chemistry. I think Kalen does a tremendous job with the culture of our program, the buy-in from our players. And when you have adverse situations like this, it's always about how you respond. And I think our guys have done a really good job in terms of their response, talking to them yesterday, and then certainly the demeanor that they have this morning.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. Roll Tide.
go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll go ahead and take questions. Let's start with Charlie here on the right.
Yeah, hey, Coach. Just how would you assess Jaylen's play in this last game, and what do you do to kind of keep his confidence up after the last couple weeks?
Well, I think, none of us coached or played well enough in the game Saturday, and that starts with me. Our ability to execute consistently and take advantage of the opportunities that we were presented. We obviously fell short in that, in those spots, and it's all of us. We're all involved in that. And Jaylen's an extremely confident player. I have no concerns about that at all. His preparation creates that confidence for him, and I know he'll get back to work this week, just like the rest of our players will.
Go to the far left, Chase.
On Saturday when y'all were checking plays at the line of scrimmage, instead of Jaylen just yelling from the shotgun, we saw him walking straight to both tackles and putting the call right in the ear hole. Was that effective, or were there a lot of communication issues despite that?
Well, in those environments, you don't really have a choice on how you have to communicate relative to the proximity to one another. You have to get that close to be able to talk. And I would say that we had some communication issues. There's no doubt about it, particularly early in the game. I thought as the game went on, our guys settled down and adjusted to the crowd. But that's something that, moving forward, we'll have to be cleaner and better when we get back into those environments.
Second row in the middle. Let's go to Matt. Coming your way, Matt.
How much of the run game struggles on Saturday were like y'all sort of self-inflicted, or was it something Tennessee was doing?
Well, I want to give credit to our opponent, on some of the things that they did, but I thought there were some execution issues by all parties, whether it was decision-making in read plays, whether it was simple fundamentals or technique. I thought there were some effective runs in the game where guys did a nice job and we were headed up correctly, and the runners did a nice job of running hard and physical, but it wasn't consistent enough, and certainly that starts with me, and our ability to put them in the best positions to be successful and ask them to do the things that they can do well. And there's lots of those things, and we just got to make sure that we tighten that up and do better, because I do think this is a group that can run the ball effectively. And we got to make sure that we improve in that area and give them enough shots at it to show what they're capable of. And so we're looking at that first as a staff, and then certainly, identifying the things that we need to improve on, because that's an area where I think we can do a lot better than what we've done. And I know we have the players to do it. I know we have the scheme to do it. I know we have the staff to do it. And so that certainly will be a point of emphasis for us this week for sure.
Second row on the left, Katie.
The defense forced 3 turnovers on Saturday, and then y'all weren't able to score after any of them. Just kind of what was maybe the teaching point of that, of being able to take advantage of those opportunities the defense sets up for you?
Just that, that you have to take advantage of those opportunities in those games against the teams that you're playing against, and credit our defense for doing that. And to this point, in the games where we've played the best collectively as a team, we've done that. Our defense has created turnovers, and we've been able to, put points on the board off of those. And unfortunately for us this past week, we didn't do that. And that was disappointing because I certainly felt like there was opportunities in the game for us to capitalize on those, and we didn't do it. And so, it goes back to execution, the calls that you make. Obviously, you always reflect on that and what you could have done different. But certainly that was a factor in the game, and that was disappointing. We weren't able to capitalize in those moments.
We talk about the struggles and the inconsistencies in the running game. How much does that influence your play calling when you get in the red zone in the shorter field?
I guess you're always trying to make decisions that you feel help your team win, and that's a moving target as the game is progressing. I think some of the things that occurred in the game on Saturday, particularly early in the game, is when we were getting behind the chains in second and long situations or third and long. We were in a lot of those in the game. That makes it harder to, be committed to running the ball when you're at second and long situations. And so, you're just always trying to identify what's going on in the game. How are our players seeing it? What is the opponent trying to do, and how can we best attack them based on what the situation that, occurs. But certainly controlling the line of scrimmage and running the football, particularly when you're on the road, is important. And, like I said, we have the players to do it, and we have the staff to do it, and we have the schemes to do it. And so that'll certainly be an emphasis for us moving forward.
Being on the left side, front row, Colin.
Hey, Nick, after the game Saturday, it seemed like Jaylen Miller, consistently took responsibility for the offensive struggles just over and over. I'm curious, what is your message to him post game to make sure he, the weight isn't, impactful of, the responsibility of that weight, isn't impactful for weeks to come, and that he, moves on and, in terms of being a leader and kind of the continuation of what you guys want to do offensively. And that he doesn't
I think Jalen's made some incredible plays for us this year. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And certainly, some of the success that we've had offensively, he's been right at the forefront of it. And so he knows that, and certainly, when you come up short, there's always plays that you would like back. There's always moments, coaches and players. And that's just not the quarterback. That's everybody. And so, that's part of competition. We know we can play better. We have to play better. We have to coach better, and so I think everybody, that competes at a high level understands what that looks like and how to respond and how to, get up off the mat and get back to work and get prepared and ready to go play in the next, game. And so that's no different for coaches, players, everybody. When you fall short and you don't do as well as you'd like and is what you expect to and what the standard is, you got to get up off the ground and keep swinging and keep working and have confidence in what you've done. I think that's the biggest message to the guys is that we have seen it. It's not like this is something you're chasing that you haven't done or shown. And so that's the message, not just to Jaylen, but to the rest of the group is let's get back to playing the type of football we know we're capable of playing. And, that's our task this week.
Stay in the front row here, Jack.
Hey, Nick, Coach Kane obviously has a lot of familiarity with Corey Batoon over at Missouri. Has he kind of talked with you about what they can do and just what have you noticed in general from their defense on film?
Yeah, certainly, any type of crossover experiences or relationships that you have amongst staff, you always have questions. I would say what great coaches and Coach Batoon is the same is, you try to adjust what you do based on the personnel that you have. And so there's always core fundamentals and principles that, both Kane and Coach, Batoon share, but each group's a little bit different. Each year's a little bit different. And, I think the way that they play, I think the effort, the toughness, the physicality, the disruption of the football, I think those are the things that you see aside from maybe some similarities schematically, because I think great coaches like the ones we're going against this week, they just adjust to who they have and what their players do best. And so year to year that may look different, but I think the style of play and how they play, those are the things that show up, both with, Coach Womack and Coach Batoon.
All right, time for 3 more questions, starting on the back row on the left.
Moving forward, how do you plan to incorporate veteran receivers like Kendrick Law and Kobe Prentice when playing seasoned defenses?
Well, we're always looking at utilizing all of the personnel that we have and how we can best put our players in a position to be successful. That's for every position, who can give us the best chance to win, who practices the best. I think both those guys are really talented players, and I know they're going to have big moments for us here down the stretch. And so, I think not just those two in particular, but all the guys. We need everybody, to continue to progress, continue to learn, continue to grow, so that we can utilize them all, here down the stretch.
On Jalen's 4th down sneak towards the end of the first half, the TV broadcast showed Ryan and Jeremy pretending to shoot a basketball on the outside of the field. Is that part of the design of the play or just something spontaneous?
Yeah, you're talking about the quarterback sneak. Yeah, there's nothing on the field that we're not coaching. So that's how I answer that.
All right, we'll finish up with Cody. Second row here.
The last few weeks, Milrow's been hasn't been nearly as effective as a runner. I know you've talked about execution, but what have opposing defenses kind of done to limit his effectiveness in that way?
I think that, there were some effective runs. There's obviously some read elements of some of those runs, where we need to make sure we make the right reads all the time. I think the negative yardage plays and going backwards, that's really what's hurt us, as far as the production in that standpoint. And some of that has been in the past game. And so just eliminating those, I think, will help us obviously stay ahead of the change, give more at-bats as far as just opportunities for that. And you're trying to find new ways and creative ways for all your players Obviously you get this far into the season, there's certain things that you have tendencies on, there's certain schemes or sets that you've run plays at before, and you're trying to counter that with other types of schemes. So, I think we got to eliminate the negative plays. We got to, that would be the biggest thing that I would say is, when we have negative yardage plays, it's hard for anybody to overcome that, and so that certainly skews some of the stats that way, and that's what we'll be focusing on.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thanks.
We'll have Coach DeBoer make his opening statement, and we'll take questions. Leave your hands up for me for a minute, please. Coach.
All right. Good morning. We've had two losses now, and trying to find those complete games and as a team. And there's been times throughout the season where we've played very complementary. It might be takeaways and scoring. It might be one team needs a little pick me up, the other comes through. But when the losses happen, those things get amplified. You certainly really look into that more. We got to play better as a team. It's what great teams do, and so we haven't been our best in those two games in particular. And I know there's other times we can always look and know we got to improve, but can't have the mistakes, can't have the penalties. Got to have better execution. All those things that put you behind the eight ball. Throughout the course of the game. And here in the SEC, there's such a fine line, obviously, between winning and losing, and that's how you get beat. And so, that's on all of us. It starts with me just continuing to set the standard, that will lead to high performance. And I know that it just comes down to competing, being solution-oriented every day, bringing everything you have to the football team. I'm confident in a group of guys that want to be great. There's no doubt about it. I can see in their response each and every day, just showing up to work. And so, I have no doubt that that's going to continue to happen. We know that just being a championship football team is hard. We all signed up for it. We all want to continue to improve our awareness, our intensity. And that's not just intensity on the football field and all that. That's just everything we do. We know it takes everything we got, and that's what we signed up for. So, I think the biggest thing is the message has been over the weeks, not just this week or not just after Vanderbilt, but the weeks, all season long. The message is always going to be: there's never going to be excuses. That's one thing that only softens character. It lowers the standard, and that will never happen. And so, again, talk about being solution-oriented, continue about moving forward, making sure you got the right people here. And I firmly believe that we have a lot of great people with a lot of great skill sets, whether it's players, staff, and that they're all working together. And so really, know that that's going to be the case. Kind of moving on to a couple other things. Just with injuries, I'll give you an update. I know with Keon Sabb, he does have a lower extremity injury. We're still gathering information here, but we do expect him to be down for a while, and so, that could be an extended amount of time, and we'll just continue to evaluate that. I know there's a lot of, I think, one position group in particular, just kind of put them all together. All the other DBs, I think, just look to see how they progress throughout the week. A lot of similarities between just kind of the level of the injuries that they all have. And right now, I'd be expecting them all to be able to play on Saturday. So be ready to go. When it comes to Missouri, just Coach Drinkwitz, especially over the last 2 years, but I know it takes time for him to build to this, has done a great job. Great football coach, just as far as how he's developing guys and, bringing the right people into his program. Got some transfers that have added to, a solid group of returning starters, 17-3 over the last 2 years. Just a resilient group, won some close games. And so we got another great task at hand as they're always going to be in the SEC. And, our guys are looking forward to the challenge. I know this week's going to be, one where we get back to work and want to bring a homecoming win back home for all our fans, all our alumni.
Thank you, Coach. Let's start with Charlie Potter here on the right.
Yeah, Coach, just with Jaylen, is he dealing with anything from an injury standpoint, maybe banged up a little bit? And if not, what do you do to kind of build his confidence up after the last 2 weeks?
Sure. Yeah, I think at this point in the year, I don't think there's many guys that play a lot of snaps who don't have something, and just working through it. But he's more than capable, and as he goes through the week, you're just ready to play on Saturday. So there's nothing that's going to be holding him back from going out there and being able to help us get a win. Confident of that.
Stay on the right side, Kirk. Kirk, right there.
Coach, I know the head coach is responsible for everything, but I wonder if some coaches take exclusive responsibility for things like play calling, for instance, or substitutions or clock management. I wonder what sort of things you are, besides your veto power, anything that are exclusive to you.
Yeah, I think all those things you mentioned are part of the job responsibility and how I look at it, and take all those things seriously. And so every element of the program, it's always things that I'm going to discuss if it involves other people, which usually it does, and go to those people. Making sure our coaching staff is always aligned on the same page, whether it is the play calling, whether it is the situational piece, off the field, recruiting efforts, making sure everything's always aligned. And so, evaluating, I'll tell you this, a lot of times there's situations that do come up that really work out for you. And, you think about many times where, in the past with different teams and all of that, maybe it's not the decision you would have made as far as that particular call, but there's a lot of good calls that you can make that all work. And so what happens is you got to make sure that the guys are prepared, that they're confident, and then going out and execute what it is that you've been working on. So, I feel full confidence in who we have, and my job's to continue to guide them, give them, my perspective, be there in the moment in the games, to continue to make sure we're sticking to the plan that we worked on, the plan that was created, the ones that the guys have practiced, and just making sure we're staying the course, in that moment, and then also staying the course as we continue to develop our players over the course of the years, and their careers.
Go to Chase, far left.
I wanted to ask you about the personal foul against Kendrick Law at the end of the game to set up the 4th and 22. What was I don't think you got asked about that on Saturday. What was your message to him after the game on that?
Yeah, the message continues to be right with the team. It's not just one. It's we gotta learn from those moments. Those moments are big, and our choices, our decisions, our words, our actions. All of those things. They have to be focused on what's best for our team. And obviously, in that moment, we're fighting to try to find a way to win, and it's a big moment. And so, we got to make sure we, of course, address them, but we got to we can't continue to have the mistakes, and that those are in particular that we can control. Some things you just can't control, the things that happen to you, the way the ball bounces, and all of those things. So, I think just everything in general, it starts with our thoughts. We got to make sure other people's thoughts don't become ours, and we got to make sure that, if someone's talking to us, we gotta learn to walk the other way, and be a more emotionally disciplined in every facet, not just the high aggression type things, but also just when, the momentum swings and things like that happen in a game, be able to trust in your preparation, trust in what you're doing. But yeah, we got to be better. We got to be better there. And obviously that's an important part of what great teams do, is be great in those times.
Second row left, Tony.
Obviously, if Keon's going to be out for any time, you're going to need Bray Hubbard to step up. Just what have you seen from him, and how much has he grown in this season?
Yeah, Bray's been working hard for this opportunity, and he worked he not just last week, but every week he's worked to be ready, and we had no doubt that he would be come Saturday when he was called upon, and he'll go out there again this week, and our team really believes in him. He does a lot of things on special teams, and you can see it every day in practice. And so he's been around the program, and now this is that time, that next up, next man up mentality. That's what we talk about, and that's what it's got to be. And I know, again, high level of want to that he has, and I'm excited for his opportunity. I love Keon to death, and Keon's he's a warrior, man. There's more things I want to say about Keon and what he did to go out there and try to help our football team. But there's next man up mentality, and I'm excited for the opportunity that Bray has in front of him.
Jump right across the aisle here with Matt.
What needs to happen offensively to better capitalize on some of those defensive takeaways?
Yeah, it's different, I think, each week, right? We talk about matchups and how they present themselves, but a lot of the things were just, drive stalling because we were I don't want to say it's always shooting yourself in the foot, but we weren't executing, or something would happen, and a lot of times it was, right? False starts or whatever it might be. We just wasted plays and got ourselves behind the chains, weren't able to have our full offense available on every play. And, we were good at that early in the season, and we got to get back to, taking advantage of those opportunities, playing off the defense and those momentum swings, keeping them on our side when those times come. So credit the defense. Now a couple weeks in a row, they've got the ball loose, or they've made some interceptions, and again, we got to play team football and make those opportunities really pay off.
Like that third row there.
Just to clarify, knee injuries in the secondary, does that include Zabian? Because I know we didn't see him for most of the game there.
Yeah, that'd be Zabian, Devontae. Is there anyone else you're wondering about? Red, yep. Red would be in that group as well.
Left side, Colin.
Hey, Kalen. I'm curious. Do you feel like there's still a learning curve in terms of Jaylen Miller and the rest of the offense, in terms of learning your offensive scheme, adapting to what you expect out of them? Or is it kind of?
Yeah, I'm pleased with a lot of the things that he's done and the way he's really wanted to learn the offense, our system. I think there's always a management of a game that goes between coaching staff and your quarterback, because he's the ultimate guy on the field that runs the show. And I think when you asked, is there a learning curve, or I think there always is, and I think it continues. But obviously, we're halfway through the season, and we got to make sure we continue to do things he's comfortable with, which I think he's comfortable with. Everything we ask him. And there's also then situations you get into that are in front of you. How many times do you like to be in second longs, third and longs? Those are hard on any quarterback, no matter how good you are. And so I know in Jaylen's case, I know how he takes it all on himself, but there's other things that we all can do to help support him and keep him from being in those tough spots, especially when you have a a loud environment, and it's hard enough just to be able to communicate with your team, make those extra little checks or calls that need to be made. That energy is a lot. We need to come through and help him out a little bit more too. And just like you'd guess, he can continue to improve as well.
A couple more questions. Start with Katie, second row there.
It's obviously been a small sample size overall with his number of attempts here at Alabama, but in his career, Graham's 1 for 4 on kicks of 50 yards or more. And we've seen Connor handle the kickoffs this year. Has there been any consideration of Connor maybe doing longer kicks, or is Graham kind of the guy y'all are sticking with for all field goals?
Yeah, I have a lot of confidence in Connor. I've really seen Connor in practice continue to really be more consistent than I remember in the spring. And, I think we were right on the edge of what Graham was capable of. I felt that. Did think about, just which way the kicks, even though there was just a small wind, looking for that little bit, I knew it would be close. You go with your gut on those things, and obviously it came up just short, but I felt like he was on point. I felt like he put a good solid swing on it, and we got a lot of confidence in both of those guys, to be honest with you.
Finish up, Jonathan, all the way in the back.
Hey, Coach, Kane was talking about in adverse times like this, he said you got to keep the main thing, focus on this Missouri game. As you get later in the season, things like standings, rankings, that kind of thing creeps in and maybe becomes a conversation. How do you do that, and how do you keep the guys focused on just what's ahead this week?
Yeah, I still feel like, really, or my experiences have been there's too much football left. And maybe the last week you try to give some perspective because there's so many things that can change between now and then. So that's really, as Kane, I guess, said, that's really, where our focus is at, is just on this game, 1-0. I already heard in the locker room from our players. They understand the big picture is one thing. In order to make the big picture relevant, we have to take care of what's in front of us. And we got to continue to, do what championship teams do, build on championship caliber teams do, build on your belief, build on your, just intensity and everything that you do. And then just have some grit, I think if you look across the championships that have been won in this program, obviously I wasn't a part of them, but there's probably a lot of common things that I just mentioned that are right there. And I firmly believe that this team is capable of that. We just got to jump over that line that is a fine line on, the winning and losing and what it takes to be great. And again, we have the people here that are going to work hard to do everything they can within their means to make that happen. So I'm excited to get back to work. We knew this wasn't going to be easy. We knew this was winning a championship each and every year, especially in the SEC, is going to be hard. We knew there were going to be challenges along with transitions, all that. No excuses. We got to continue to move forward. We got to continue to build. And, that's what this week is all about, is taking that next step.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, fam. I appreciate you guys watching today. Thank you very much. A lot to dive into, clearly. Like I said, I might come on tonight. I got a busy day. I got to, cut up all this press conference stuff. A lot of things to go over on the press conference. There was a bunch of things that stood out to me from Kane Womack talking about, King Mack and Bray Hubbard going into this game, the illegal substitution penalty, Nick Sheridan answering about the shooting the basketball. He said that he coaches that play, talked about Jaylen Miller as a runner, talked about utilizing Kendrick Law and Kobe Prentice, and then from Coach Kalen DeBoer, he didn't really answer if Jaylen Miller was injured or not. He kind of left that ambiguous. I mean, it seems like he's saying Jaylen might be a little bit banged up, but the biggest news comes in the fact that Keon Sabb is going to be out for an extended amount of time. And it looks like Xavier Brown's injured. Devontae Smith is injured. Red Morgan's injured. Talked a little bit about Bray Hubbard. But, man, look, the secondary was already getting cooked. All right, so this is concerning going into, I don't know, any other game, depending on the depth of the team. I'll be back as news happens. I got to get to work. Yeah, you're like, what? You've been doing work. I do all the post cut-ups and stuff like that. Follow me, right here on YouTube, of course, on Facebook, too. Alabama Crimson Tide on YouTube. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk Alabama football with you guys. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day. Be good people out there. Take care of each other. Coming to you from beautiful Hollywood, Alabama, Kyle Henderson of Bama Football.